Introducing YouTube memberships, a fun way to support the channel while getting some exclusive perks. Click the join button to become a member now and get benefits like badges next to your name on videos, behind-the-scenes photos, advantages during the live trivia game, discounts on merchandise, private one-on-one video chats, the ability to request future video topics, and exclusive 8 to 10 minute videos on the history of the NFL. And now, on with our feature presentation. When you think of the greatest seasons by any running back in the history of professional football, odds are this might be the first season that comes to mind. To say that the 2006 season was a special one for LaDainian Tomlinson would be putting it lightly, because in 2006, it seemed as though Tomlinson was a human cheat code and was playing a completely different sport than everyone else. The San Diego Chargers went 14-2, setting a franchise record that still stands today for the best record and the most wins in franchise history. And they got the #1 seed in the AFC, finishing with the best record in all of football. And during the season, perhaps there was no player more instrumental to the success of the team than LaDainian Tomlinson, because he was doing things almost unheard of at the professional football level. During the 2006 campaign, Tomlinson had 1,815 rushing yards, which led the league and ranked just outside the top 15 all-time for a single season. He also had 56 receptions for 508 yards, so when you add everything up, he had 2,323 yards for scrimmage, which was the 6th highest total in a single season in NFL history at the time, and today still ranks inside the top 10, even with the expanded season. But most impressive was his ability to score at will and find the end zone all the time, as he finished the season with 28 rushing touchdowns, breaking the record of 27 set by Shaun Alexander 1 year before in 2005 with the Seattle Seahawks, and the record in 2003 with Priest Holmes of the Kansas City Chiefs, and 31 total touchdowns, smashing the previous record and making him to date the first and only player in NFL history to score at least 30 touchdowns in a single season. He was averaging just under 2 touchdowns per game, which is absurd, and he scored a touchdown in all but 4 games, including the playoffs. A touchdown is 6 points, so 31 touchdowns times 6 means that Tomlinson scored 186 points in 2006, which is so absurd that during the same season, the Oakland Raiders as a team scored 168 points. That's right, Tomlinson was so good in 2006 that he outscored an entire freaking football team. LaDainian Tomlinson by himself would not be the lowest scoring team in the league. He was a one-man show, and his 2006 season was one of the greatest seasons by any player at any position in the over century-long history of this sport. And when you're as good as Tomlinson is, and when you're as marketable as he is considering his clean image and the position that he plays, you're going to get companies calling you up to make commercials for them and represent your product. Tomlinson was already partnered with the well-renowned brand Nike, and in 2006 had his own shoe with the company, which only cost $50, but was available in children's and youth sizes. And with Nike wanting to promote Tomlinson for obvious reasons, seeing as he was a player that people looked up to, and was one of the biggest faces that the brand had, to kick off the 2007 season, Nike created a massive campaign centered around Tomlinson, with a commercial launching just days before the start of the year, featuring him scoring a touchdown and making defenders miss as only he can. And if you were around back then, you couldn't miss this ad. But just in case, let me refresh your memory and show you what I'm talking about. Roll the tape. Now, on the surface, there appears to be absolutely nothing controversial whatsoever about this ad. In fact, it's a really good ad, and you might still remember that advertisement today. Heck, I remember watching this as a kid back in 2007, and even though I had forgotten about it, when I watched it again all these years later, it was like a giant wave of nostalgia came back to me. I mean, you've got the best player in football doing what he does best. You've got him juking out guys on his way to the end zone, and you've got him completely in his element. There's no dialogue or anything that could be even the slightest bit controversial. There's no music that's controversial. There's no on-screen text that's controversial, unlike some of the other commercials I've talked about on this channel before, like ones involving Sales Genie at the Super Bowl that you can learn more about by clicking the card in the upper right corner. There is nothing whatsoever to be up in arms about. But just out of curiosity, who are Tomlinson and the Chargers facing in Week 1 to kick off the brand new season? Oh crap. Yep. September 9th, 2007. It's Week 1 of a brand new NFL season, and we kick off the new year with the National Fox game as part of America's Game of the Week between the reigning NFC champion Chicago Bears and the reigning team with the best record in football, the San Diego Chargers, over at Qualcomm Stadium on the West Coast. Aside from the fact that it's a big game because it's the opening day of the season, and aside from the fact that it's a big game because it pits two teams against each other that the previous year got the number 1 seeds in their respective conferences and went a combined 27-5, winning a whopping 84% of their games, this was also the battle that was unfolding in the Nike commercial, with LaDainian Tomlinson's Chargers going up against Tommie Harris's Bears. And in a normal world, you wouldn't think anything of this battle. Really, in a normal world, you would just think, that's a weird coincidence, or that's pretty funny, and you would move on. Obviously, Tommie Harris, the man that Tomlinson was juking out of his shoes, and the man that made the Pro Bowl last year, agreed to doing this commercial. He was on Nike's roster. He appeared in some commercials for the company. And even though he wasn't necessarily thrilled with the fact that the commercial involved him losing the battle, he had fun making it and hanging out with his friend, LaDainian Tomlinson. And obviously, LaDainian Tomlinson didn't write the script for the commercial and explicitly say, I want to stick it to the Bears in particular. If he had his way, honestly, it would probably be him going up against one of those generic teams with no logos attached that you see when stores try to advertise TVs and they show those fake sporting events. He played for the Chargers, Harris played for the Bears, they both worked for Nike, they used the logos for both of those teams, and the commercial played out that way. And it just so happened that the two teams were facing each other in Week 1. Complete non-story. Except for the fact that this man right here, legendary Chicago Bears linebacker Brian Urlacher, decided to make a mountain out of a molehill and treat this commercial like someone killed his family. It was like when he saw the commercial, he was witnessing a man getting beheaded live on TV. Even though the fantastic irony in this is that he never actually saw the commercial. Which feels weird to comment on something that you really don't know anything about or haven't seen. You're not going to see me reviewing a TV show without actually watching the show, but I digress. Apparently, Urlacher felt qualified to do that with this commercial. Because Urlacher took offense to this and said, how did we do the last time we played them? How did he do that game? Look at the stats and see how we did. Even though that game was ages ago in 2003, and even though Tomlinson still scored a touchdown in that game. I should also note that Urlacher was not portrayed at all in this commercial. There was no one wearing anything resembling his jersey, so it's not like his likeness was an issue here. Everyone else on the field was just a random generic player designed to fill out the defense, with the only noticeable bear out there being Tommie Harris. And what's bizarre about this entire thing is that Brian Urlacher seemed like the only person making a mountain out of a molehill. No one else had a problem with it. No one else was publicly outspoken against the commercial. Not even players and members on the Bears were. Tommie Harris had no problem with it. He was super close with Tomlinson, seeing as the two grew up only about 60 miles from each other. And the director of the commercial, Michael Mann, was from Chicago and was a big Bears fan. So despite the fact that it was a long shooting night, taking 12 hours to shoot the commercial, Harris was fine. He even flat out said about the controversy that Urlacher created, "It's just a commercial." Bears head coach Lovie Smith said that he had no problem with the commercial, and that his team didn't need any sort of extra motivation to play the first game of the season against a team as good as the Chargers. Lovie even joked that he didn't realize that his commercial would draw that much buzz, seeing as he did a commercial for Comcast. Chargers head coach Norv Turner said that he had no problem with the commercial, saying, "I don't think it's belittling or directed at anybody. It was a promotional thing. It was a good choice by them. I don't think it's going to be an issue for this game." And the star of the commercial, LaDainian Tomlinson, the man that you've been watching, felt the same way, and basically told Brian Urlacher, in no uncertain terms, to shut up if he was offended by this somehow. As Tomlinson said, "I didn't make the commercial. I'm endorsing Nike. If that's showing disrespect for the Bears, then I'm sorry for that. But it's a commercial, so guys should take it for what it's worth. I don't know how this thing got blown out of proportion of what it is really about. If they need motivation or whatever, then so be it. Our motivation is to win games. That's it. Not to talk trash." Translation? Relax, man. It's just a commercial. It's just a freaking commercial. This has nothing to do with you or your team. I didn't write the thing. I didn't direct the thing. I didn't make the thing. I just got paid and ran with the ball. And it so happened to be against another guy on the Nike roster who was on your team. There's no need to take it out on me or think that I'm disrespecting you guys. It truly is amazing how this became a controversy, because this felt like a complete nothing burger. But somehow, Urlacher and the media found a way. Somehow, they found a way. Which raises the ultimate question. How did Tomlinson play against the Bears when it wasn't under the setting of a commercial? And instead, was it an actual game to open up the 2007 season? Well, the bad news for Tomlinson was that in some respects, he had a bit of an off day, and put together a surprisingly weak rushing performance. The good news, though, was that this is what an off day for Tomlinson looked like. 76 yards from scrimmage, 7 receptions, a rushing touchdown, and a passing touchdown with a perfect passer rating on that one attempt, as he was responsible for both touchdowns on the day as the Chargers won the game 14-3. Yep, this was an off day for him. A day where he was responsible for every touchdown as the Chargers won the game. And it wasn't even close to his best work. If that's an off day, man, that just shows how great Tomlinson was in his prime. The odd part in all of this, as if this couldn't get any more bizarre, is the fact that Tommie Harris, as in the man who made this commercial happen in the first place by appearing in it, and the man that Tomlinson ran over, ended up playing for both of the teams behind me right here, as he played for both the Chicago Bears and the San Diego Chargers. After 7 seasons with the Bears, including that 2007 campaign, he ended his Bears career in 2010, and then finished his career in 2011 as a member of the Chargers. And no, they did not remake the commercial in 2011 with Harris on the Chargers and Tomlinson on the New York Jets, as funny as that would have been. More than a decade and a half later, this commercial lives on for a few reasons. Number one, it's just a flat-out great commercial that shows how electric LaDainian Tomlinson was, and highlights his abilities and explosiveness on the field, and why he's one of the greatest running backs to ever play this sport. But number two, it created one of the most bizarre controversies in Nike history when it came to how something like this could possibly be misconstrued into something that it wasn't, especially when no laws were broken and nothing controversial occurred. If the Chargers and Bears played each other in 2009 or 2010 instead of 2007, then this would be a complete non-story. But the fact that they played each other just days after the commercial premiered, and it's the very first game of the season, safe to say, all hell broke loose, even when it absolutely should not have. Because when it came to this commercial in 2007, and it came to wanting to create a controversy out of it, and view it as a sign of disrespect, LaDainian Tomlinson straight up told Ryan Urlacher, just don't do it. Get your official Jaguar Gator 9 merchandise by going to jj9shop.com, and be sure to like and subscribe, as it really helps the channel out a lot. Join me every Wednesday night where we'll play NFL Trivia for cash prizes at 9 p.m. Eastern over on Twitch. To learn more about the history of college football, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 8. To learn more about the history of Major League Baseball, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 7. Also, special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters for helping out the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. See how you can become a patron and request future video topics in the description below.